And we are live. Hi, everybody. Joe Chaffee, Fios One News, Long Island in New Jersey.
And Joe Rayo, Fios One News, Lower Hudson Valley, and day 50 since the last...
Since Aunt Sally came by with pre-con pralines.
Since we last had the winter atrocity of November 15th, and since that time, Joe, a smattering of occasional wet flakes.
Right.
No real accumulations at all to speak of. Day 50 since we had our 6.4 inches at Central Park, and in some cases up to a foot in the northern and western climes of the Hudson Valley and northwest New Jersey.
Well, right now it's becoming after today's model runs, it's becoming I'm trying to see who's shouting the loudest. The 5-year-old temper tantrum throwers,
Right.
Who feel entitled to snow every day from November 1st to June 1st, versus the snow weenies who are embracing whichever model prints out a 30-inch snowstorm in its 240-hour forecast.
Right.
So either way, it's all silly. The point of watching what is happening is to learn and understand how the atmosphere works, and enjoy the trip, wherever it takes you, because we don't know still where we're going. I do have my own thoughts though after looking at today, but and that is from what I've seen, with this idea that we are in this very grinding long process
Right.
of moving the pattern around, moving the chess pieces around. I think it continued today. It picked up maybe a little bit of steam in certain quarters that I'm looking at, and now we'll see where it takes us through the weekend. I keep thinking we're going to be, we'll probably keep seeing this sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But the general trend, I think, is headed in that direction, where we're going to be in a bit more of a wintry pattern than what we've had.
Well, I think we're possibly going to see one of, to use one of your terms, a cheap thrill, maybe Monday night.
Right.
Because it's going to turn noticeably colder to kick off the week on Monday. And then we have kind of a minor disturbance that may bring us a touch of either wet snow or rain, depending upon where you're located Monday night. It won't last very long. And in fact, by early Tuesday, it pretty well will be gone or leaving us. And then looking even beyond that, and I know a lot of you have been looking beyond that, those of you who have been perusing the long-range models for not this weekend, but next weekend, for what may turn out to be something interesting, or maybe something that will be another crushing defeat in the overview of those of you who are hoping for the white stuff.
Well, open mind. Let's see what happens. But before we, let's get into all of this. I covered this extensively tonight on my YouTube channel. Because I do actually have I have an audience that tunes in from England and Ireland and Europe, which is so cool. In fact, we have Alfred from Wainwright, Alaska, on the North Slope. That's also very cool. But I'm going to go to Europe, because right now this whole polar vortex split is already beginning to have impact, and I want to show you what's been happening with respect to the upper air on the European side, because there actually is, I think, Joe, one important aspect of this that is impacting our weather to some degree. There has been a big, huge blocking high sitting over Ireland and Greenland for the last week or more, and it's almost, it's coinciding with what's happening here, so it is having an effect. But right now, what it has done is that upper high is so strong that the offsetting deep trough is really deep and runs from Siberia, from the heart of Siberia, all the way down into the Mediterranean Sea. They had snow on the south coast, the southern part of Italy, on the beaches.
Right.
I was looking at temperatures. Naples was at 32, Rome 32, Palermo in Sicily 37.
Wow.
I mean, this is really cold air that's gone pretty far south. Those beaches down there were, they're tourist beaches. The people go there to get away from the cold, and this cold air has really blasted all the way down through Central Europe, Eastern Central Europe, and then down into Southern Europe near the Mediterranean. And meanwhile, when you go into Western Europe, it's been seasonal or a little bit above average, but it's also been very quiet because they're under this ridge. Now, with regards to the split, I pulled the map from 10 days from now. And one of the things I've noticed is that in the process, in the last 3 weeks, as we've watched the models trying to show the split, it was going to happen, it's not going to happen, it's going to happen one way, it's going to happen another way. What has been really remarkable to me is that now, once it came on the idea that the split was going to happen, and it's going to split in, we've already split in two pieces, we're about to split into a third, and that's that upper low that's going to be in Southern Europe. Once the model settled on that, every single run for days now, it's been pretty much the same. One center goes into Siberia, one goes into Southern Europe, one goes into North America near Hudson Bay, and it stays there through the 2 week period. And this is going to have implications for the long term going into February. And of course, in Europe, with that upper low pushing westward, it eventually will mean that the cold is going to spread westward. And here's what the upper air looks like from what it is now. You go from this, which is what it is now, and in about 11 or 12 days, it looks like this.
Well, the folks in Portugal and Spain and France and all the way into the UK are going to suddenly get a shot of like a cold slap in the face if all this pans out.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, at least on the European side, it looks for sure that they're going to have a big impact from this in the longer term.
And as the cold air lifts away to the north and to the west, the folks who are right now dealing with this unseasonable shot of cold weather, Italy and Sicily, as you point out, Malta, another example. I mean, these people will warm up. This will be a little bit of relief for them as the cold air gets dislodged and shifts to the western end of Europe.
I'm going to be curious. I'm not familiar with completely with how weather works in Europe. I'm still learning in terms of I don't know the topography and the local climates and all. I just wonder, seeing this cutoff low down south of Turkey going into the toward Syria, Lebanon, Israel. I wonder whether that might be something that produces one. You hear about this every 5 or 10 years, where they get snow in Bethlehem, or in Tel Aviv or in Jerusalem. But no matter, this is all very, very interesting impact on the European side. And in fact, this is the 10-day snowfall map. The numbers don't matter.
You just want to look at the general overview of where it's potentially going to, see snowy conditions.
And you can, and at least through the next 10 days, the fact that you've got this upper high that's going to take about it's going to break down in about 3 or 4 days. But while it's still in play, the further west you go, the less snow you see. So as you get toward England and Ireland, there isn't very much, or in western parts of France and northernmost Spain. But you go east of there, and then you particularly look at even down through Italy, down into Sicily. Some of that is mountains, but still, to see snow that far south is pretty impressive. All around Greece, in through Turkey. You're seeing accumulating snow.
Those splotches I see over like in northern or northwest Africa, Morocco.
Yes,
like that has to be higher terrain.
Oh yeah, and last year actually, even some of the lower terrain here last year at one point got accumulating snow. So that's the European impact. Now coming back home, Joe, we talked yesterday about this Pacific fire hose jet that has been in place for the last couple of weeks. No real polar connection, or at least a very minor one here in the east, where we get these little shots of chilly air that come down for a day or so. But that fire hose jet, this is one of the factors that I've been watching to see if it's going to break down. And on today's European, it breaks down considerably. You start to see much more amplitude. You don't have that straight line jet going all the way across from.
The fire hose seems to have a kink in it.
Right at Hawaii.
Right.
And there's a ridge is forecast to build there. You also start to have more of a polar connection or a connection from northwest Canada down
Right.
into the eastern part of the United States in about starting to show up actually at around day 6 or 7 on our maps. We'll go further to the east, and this was the general view of the European at day 9, which is next Sunday, where you have this kind of interesting looking split flow. Southern active jet with weather systems moving along it, but you also have a northern jet here that's in place with some short waves in it. So, again, rather than pointing to anything specific, which you really can't do, the fact that we're going into a pattern that has breaks the Pacific flow down, I think, is very important. And we're gradually seeing a colder look to it. Every day, I think we see a little bit more
Right.
than we did the day before.
Right. And now this is the map for Sunday, January 13th, and this is the one this is the day that I think a lot of the snow lovers out there who looked at the various models, and especially the European, got really excited because that particular shortwave that you see in the southeastern states on the European model, combining with that colder flow coming across the Great Lakes, possibly setting the stage for some snow or a significant snowfall. But I also point out that just 12 hours before the run last night from the European had a completely different picture. It had the storm coming right up at us and mild air in place, and it looked like mostly a rainstorm. Now it's suggesting snow. We're still more than a week away, so as we have often said in situations like this, many runs to come.
Well, look,
this is all...
let me put the issue up in a longer in a different context. Let's say that the general flavor of this upper flow is correct. Here's the problem. When I looked at all the models today, starting and we can start with the I'll use the same time frame. The parallel GFS and the upper air. They actually all have a similar look to them. They are all basically showing a bit of a split, and different short waves running around. I think what the European did today was it just basically ran a model where everything kind of timed out perfectly and lined up perfectly.
Right.
But the other models, I think, show you what the issue is, and that if things, and things could and probably will time out differently, you're going to wind up with a different outcome. And in this case, for example, in the parallel GFS, you have really not very much that comes out of this because the streams are separate. They don't time out in exactly the same way.
This is a silly analogy, and I just thought of it literally this very second or whatever. And so please excuse me, or if you don't like the analogy, I'm sorry. But it's kind of like when you start looking at maps 5, 6, 7 days out and scenarios, upper level systems, it's almost like the big wheel on The Price is Right.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
for the snow lover, you want the $1.
Right.
And so in my mind, last night...
Or at least the green section of the bonus spin,
or the
you
green
get 5
spin.
now.
Exactly. The big wheel today, we spun it around, and at least on the European model, we hit $1.
We hit $1.
Meanwhile,
Okay.
the GFS or the parallel GFS, we're either in the green or maybe just outside.
Well,
the green.
or actually, in the case of some of these other models, you got 10 cents. You're spinning the wheel, and that 95 cents is getting closer. You'll be over $1, and
Right,
you'll lose.
exactly.
But here's the same time frame. If you take the idea that the upper flow kind of looks similar, but because everything times out totally differently. And here's the European, okay, which is a nice trough there that's
Right.
getting ready to come around because the north and the south just kind of time out together. But then you look at the GFS for the same time. It's got all its energy piled up in the northern stream and very little in the south. And this would just basically be an Arctic front that goes by.
Right.
So this is why you can't get wrapped up in this stuff so early on in the game.
Right.
But again, I think the takeaway is that we're going to be doing what I've described as a stair-step decline, and we'll use we can actually use any model we want here to illustrate that. But here we have this first low for tomorrow, which is a whole washout day, inch and a half. Just throw it away. Goodbye. Sunday is better. Gusty winds. Colder air comes down. Shot of cold air comes in. Warm front comes by. You said it's Monday night, cheap
Right,
thrill,
right.
warm front, burst of snow
And see, here's
somewhere.
the other thing is that it's been so mild, not just in our area, but all
All the
across
way
the
up.
northeast. In a more typical winter, this system on Monday night would be a lot more problematic because with some snow cover or whatever, we'd have to be concerned about the warm front not making it through.
Or even if we had a cold enough high.
A cold air damming event or whatever, but there is no cold air damming. So
Right. So it just goes on by.
So it just goes on through, yeah.
And behind that actually is a not half bad shot of air
Right.
for Wednesday, Thursday into Friday, and then of course you figure out whatever's going to happen next weekend. Regardless, behind that is what looks like an even more impressive shot of cold air that comes down for the first part of the week of the 15th. So, that whole thing that I was talking about with respect to, each of these cold fronts will probably come with a slightly colder air mass than the previous one. It's a sort of very slow stair-step decline as all the chess pieces moving around. And I think that's where we really leave it at this point.
I believe you. I agree with you 100% that this pattern of colder weather not coming all at once, but in stages. But also, one thing that I like to maintain is that when we get toward the end of January or maybe the beginning of February, we're going to see it's kind of like sometimes we talk about the Baja low, where the storm in the southwestern states doesn't come at us all at once. It kind of kicks little pieces of it up toward us, and then eventually the main low comes right in. So the shots of cold air, we get these shots of cold air, boom, boom, boom. But finally, all at once, I think toward the end of the month or beginning of February, boom, here comes.
Maybe that'll be that we'll have one big shot. I know. Look, there are a lot of skeptics on both sides of this equation. You have the super bullish, you have the super bearish, and then you have those of us that I kind of view this to me as being a bit more of a practical approach to where this is going.
And by the way, did we set up a specific date with Dr. Cohen next week? Or
no, I gotta get in touch with him on Monday. Dr. Judah Cohen will be on hopefully either Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll call him the father of the stratospheric, the polar vortex and the stratosphere, and he'll be explaining. He'll be explaining what's going on, what he thinks is going to happen. And we'll probably do it on my YouTube channel, so that's a 7 o'clock live stream.
Okay.
So we'll let everybody know. But here's tomorrow's rain. Low goes out. We improve. Just wanted to take a quick look at the NAM maybe for.
This is the new NAM.
Yeah, this is the new NAM. So
now
we're into Sunday.
The question is tomorrow, which I've been saying, the heaviest stuff would come in the morning, but now it seems at least. That there may be some heavy stuff in the morning, then it kind of peters out a bit in the midday,
and then
all
there's
of a sudden
one more surge.
Then one final shot coming in later.
That's kind of how I've been playing it.
Yeah.
The heavy stuff may be done in New Jersey, whatever comes in tonight, maybe after about 7 or 8 o'clock, and on Long Island after about 8 or 9 o'clock, you get the break, then a shot in the mid-afternoon to early evening, and then finish. The new NAM, by the way, Joe, look, for Monday, nothing. Exactly. So we just went through something the other day where the NAM, the HRRR was the only one that had nothing, and we wound up with nothing. So yeah, I'm not really particularly
this all goes
excited
back,
with this.
Again, this all goes back, as I said a couple of minutes ago. If we had even a normal winter, then we would have colder air over the northeast. We would have some snow on the ground. We would have the possibility of some cold air damming, and that system coming in for Monday night would be more problematic, and there would be probably a lot more to show. But again, it's just going to go as all the others have. Bloop, that's it. So
exactly.
And it's so amazing too when you look back. 1 year ago on this date, we were digging out from a foot to a foot and a half of snow, at least in the Hudson Valley, and the much colder weather and everything else.
Now we're on the other end of the spectrum, mostly.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to run through questions. We have a little bit of time tonight. They're talking all the hockey teams out here. Nice. I'm just trying to find some questions. We're here. Jean-Marie Lemulik, I know that different weather events around the world can affect future events and patterns in other areas. Quite true.
True, absolutely. It's the neck bone is connected to the shoulder bone, and
there is feedback. I mean, something happening in one place is going to have impact on something happening in another place.
In the northern hemisphere, it's like a big halo over the top of the world, and so just because, we're in a certain pattern, you look over towards Siberia, and eventually that may whirl all the way around to us in a couple of weeks.
Wendy Wallace Donnelly is having heart surgery on the 17th in the Philadelphia area, wants to know about snow. Too early to tell. Good luck with your surgery. But too early to 12, but check back in. We'll see how the pattern goes.
We'll know a lot better about 1 week from now. We'll probably have a better handle on that. We're right in the period now where average highs and lows.
Those are at their lowest points for the year. Yeah, I guess.
I think actually it's more
I
like
thought it was late January or
middle and
February.
latter part of January. Yeah. But I was watching a couple of our colleagues, Brittany Borer and Addison Green, and they were working on graphics, and they have a countdown graphic, and I think they said countdown 27 days to Groundhog Day, and I said no, it can't be that guy, and I said yeah, it is. Midwinter is only a few weeks away, really.
Right.
So
no, Jim Maine has already proclaimed on the 4th of January that January is a bust. Okay. I would have at least waited till the 5th.
And don't forget, Sunday is Little Christmas. Although this year you were telling me that in one religion it's the 14th of January, or the Epiphany is.
No, the 6th it's a Sunday.
Yeah.
No, in the Catholic Church, I don't know how many years ago this was, but it was in recent time. The Epiphany is the 6th, but they've made it a Sunday date.
Right.
So the Epiphany can fall as late as the 8th of January.
Right.
And it could fall depending on, like if Christmas were on a Friday, on a Saturday, and it's the 26th, it could be as early as, I don't think it could be the 2nd, so maybe it's the 3rd.
Well,
but yeah, it's a movable date now, and they make it the first Sunday that follows New Year's. Usually is how it works.
All I know is that Radio City Music Hall, they were going to cut the Christmas show out on January 1st. Mm-hmm. They've extended it through this weekend. Although I have to admit, it would be, if you have tickets to the show on Sunday, it's a little odd to see Santa Claus still prancing around with his big sack on the 6th of January, because mentally it's pretty well done now.
Right, and actually the Christmas season, it's the 4th. It's usually 8 Sundays.
Okay.
So it's the 4 Sundays of Advent, and then the 4 Sundays that follow.
Okay.
With the last Sunday being the Sunday of the Baptism of the Lord, marks the end of the Christmas season in the Catholic. So it's 4 and 4.
I would presume then that this would probably be the last weekend if you wanted to see the tree lit up. And,
I think they probably leave it up through this, maybe through just after the 6th, maybe to the 9th or 10th, perhaps, and then it becomes wood chips for someplace.
That would be interesting. Think about this now. They make such a big deal when the tree is being lit. Don't you think they might be able to build a television show
around the tree being shut down?
Shut down.
Boy, you and I think alike, and that could be frightening.
What would really be frightening? No, what would really be frightening if somebody from the networks, let's say
probably
NBC,
heard it and then steals the show,
and goes on a Monday. He's going to go into the president of NBC and says, "I got a great idea, boss."
Right, exactly.
Get to work, Diana Ross. We'll get Diana Ross, the Supremes, and the giant chipper.
Too funny. Oh boy! All right, you know what?
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday, and it's almost 10 o'clock, and our day is done. So thanks for being here tonight. I'll keep you weather covered over the weekend. You and I will be back on Monday. We'll let everybody know as soon as I can book it. We'll let you know when the Dr. Judah Cohen interview is going to be. I think it'll be either, as long as it fits his schedule. The 2 days we have open are Thursday and Friday. I'm sorry,
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tuesday and Wednesday. We're busy Thursday and Friday. So yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday will be the 2 possible days. So soon as we know, you'll know.
Regarding Friday, next Friday, I'm going to be giving a talk next Friday at Pace University. In fact, I don't even have the name of the hall that I'm going to be giving the talk in. And I'll mention this again next week. I'll have more specifics on my page, and we'll mention it here. But I'll be giving a talk at Pace, 7:30 next Friday night, on upcoming celestial spectaculars that are coming our way, eclipses and meteor showers and all sorts of interesting stuff. So if you're in the neighborhood, it's going to be free and open to the general public. Come on down, and it'll be nice to see you. Maybe I might even try to do it on YouTube, with my little...
Stream it live.
Yeah, little iPad or camera or whatever. I've got a tripod, so I can stick it on the tripod.
Go
push the
for
button
it.
and
Stream it live.
whatever.
My channel folks would love it. So
Okay.
stream it live, and you'll keep me posted on it.
And you already got your first library talk for what, mid-March?
Yeah, that'll be March. Yeah, it's ways away, but it's in New Jersey. It'll be March 12th, Tuesday, March 12th, and the Westwood Library, conveniently in Westwood, New Jersey.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's a good place to put it.
Yeah, exactly. Not in Eastwood.
On the
But-
100,
but-
he's doing on the 131st anniversary of the blizzard of '88,
oh, is it
March the
100?
12th. Yeah.
I mean, that was supposed to go to the south.
Well, that's what.
And we have the maps to prove it.
That's true. True.
All right. Have a great night and a great weekend. Stay safe, travel well, and we'll see you next week. Good night.
Bye.